Hi, I'm Ben,
And I'm Ernie.
and this is Budget Nerds.
What was all in your mind?
You are not alone.
No, you are not. Well, today's a very exciting day, Ernie, a day we've been waiting for a long time. We're going to talk about a new YNAB feature called Focused Views. Why don't you give us a rundown of what Focused Views are, Ernie?
The way I describe them in workshops is it's another way to slice and dice your categories. So you have those groups, everything's set up all nice and tidy in your budget, but you want to look at those categories maybe a different way. I want to look at all the auto expenses or the home expenses, or I want to look at your priorities and then my priorities. Focused Views gives you that opportunity to slice and dice those categories in different ways.
Yeah, so it's just another way to look at everything, and I guess it's basically a filter. I mean, I think there's some reason why we didn't use the word filter. I think because we used the word filter somewhere else in the app, and so we didn't want to mix it up. So we came up with this idea of focus views, but it's a filter. That's what it is.
It's a filter.
Yeah, and we have a few built-in views that come in automatically, and then you can create your own just by selecting individual categories for a view. And so me and Ernie are going to talk about a little about how we've been using them, and then we'll just go off on a whole bunch of ideas on how you can use them as well. And then maybe you guys can send us an email or put it in the comments some ways that you're using them too. We'd love to hear.
I think that's what I'm most excited about.
Yeah,
how is the community using focused views?
And I've already seen a lot of really cool ideas. I think Erin said she's one of our teachers. She said that people are going to come up with stuff that we can't even imagine. So I'm really excited to see what the community does with this over the next several months here. But yeah, let's just jump in. How are you using them right now, Ernie?
Well, right away out of the gate, I wasn't using them.
Okay.
I couldn't find a reason to use them because I really liked the way my categories were grouped.
Mm-hmm.
I had all of my bills, my true expenses, some frequent expenses, and then I think I had some savings goals. And so I was like, there's really no other way that I want to slice and dice these. I mean, I could have maybe selected views of those groups. So if I wanted a simplified view of them, right, be able to look at them without all the other noise of the other groups and categories.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, let's just go all in on these focus views. Let's give them an honest shot.
Okay.
And so what I did is I deleted all my groups.
Oh, okay.
I have
This is so you, Ernie. Like you just go for it, man. I can't. I haven't changed my budget at all, but yeah, as usual.
Yeah, I changed everything up. So, I mean, you have to have a group, right? You can't have a groupless budget.
Right.
So what I did is I named the group priority.
Oh, so you just had one big old group.
Everything is underneath that group and it's alphabetized. And the reason I chose priority is because now in the register, on the account side of things, when I enter a transaction, it says priority, colon.
Okay.
And then it's the category name.
I can kind of see how that has a psychological impact. Like,
yeah.
It's not a list of categories, it's a list of priorities, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I also took the opportunity to minimize my categories. I think I have a lot of categories. I was up in the 50s, and I wanted to kind of reduce some of that granularity. Okay. I didn't want to be as precise.
Every once in a while, you got to You got to just blow it up and delete some categories, merge them.
So now I'm down into like the mid 40s or something like that. So the budget is simple, it's cleaner, and here are the views that I created: bills, non-monthly expenses, goals, and then personal spending categories.
Okay.
And that's it. And so those are the ones that I cycle through.
Like groups almost.
I'm using the views like groups.
Because it's
absolutely
just easier, like just mechanically. to you.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay.
And I've found that I'm only going into those views when I'm assigning money.
Ah, okay.
Because when I'm just looking at the budget and trying to absorb where I'm at with the plan, I'm just looking at all of my categories.
Mm-hmm. So I guess technically you have two groups now because you still have to have the credit card payment group, and then you have the credit group.
Yep.
All right, man, Ernie, that's spicy. Not gonna lie. That feels like chaos to me for a little bit.
Well, that's the thing. It feels so clean and simple to me because the default budget screen, there's
simple.
so much fewer categories, and there's two groups, and it's minimal.
Right.
And okay, I'm an emoji guy on the groups, but I got rid of my groups. So what do I do with emojis?
Oh, right. Yeah.
I can't just have one emoji because I don't think you can put emojis on the credit card payment category group.
Well, if you change the name of the account,
but the group.
Oh no, I don't think you can change the group. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, what do I do with emojis? I ended up putting them on all my categories.
Oh man, it's happened, guys. It happened. So before or after?
Beautiful. It is beautiful. Oh, it's before.
Yeah,
the emojis are before.
Before. Yeah.
So they're off the groups. So now I have that consistency there, and just on the categories, but they're not on the credit card account.
You don't feel like it's cluttered? That was your big gripe before.
I don't.
Ernie, you like massively changed your budget, and
I always
need to have
do
a category for our whole episode for this because you went to one group, you deleted a bunch of categories, you put emojis on all of them. We just had a category episode like a month ago. We're gonna have to do it again.
I know. Well, I'm gonna be doing another budget with me.
Oh yeah, so you can see it.
I think in August.
Okay.
And so then when I can talk about them.
Okay, so if you want to see Ernie's budget with numbers, by the way, check his budget with me. Will that be on YouTube, you think, or will it be on Instagram? Or
I think we're gonna do it on Instagram.
Okay, you could do both. Blow your mind.
Could I? Yeah, I guess I could.
It'd be a lot to multitask, but you could be on YouTube and also point a camera at your screen on Instagram. You could do both at the same time. That'd be interesting.
That's blown my mind just trying to conceptualize it here.
Because that's what you did before when you were on Instagram. You just pointed your camera at the screen, and I don't see why you couldn't do both. But your internet provider might freak out or something. I don't know what your upload speed's like, but
it's not great. So all of these changes, I think the biggest surprise in them, and the changes were centered around the focused views. The biggest surprise is the impact it's had on the account register for me. Like I said, when I enter a transaction or when I import a transaction, it comes up with that category group priority. Mm-hmm. And then it shows me that category. But the emoji, now I have all of these beautiful emojis on these transactions. And with a simplified category structure, I don't have nearly as many split transactions as I did before. And so the register is clean. I can get a quick view of what's going on. Right. It makes sense. I like it so much more.
Okay. Ernie, that's really interesting. Okay. Well, I've made some changes. Some structural, not structural changes to my budget, but I've made some changes to the practices. So I'll talk about what I do. So as far as custom views, I'm pretty minimal. I haven't really experimented with it a whole lot yet. I have a Ben view. I have a Katie view for my wife, which are already category groups anyway. So basically it's just a way to quickly bring up the category group that I want. And I have a house view, which is useful because that brings in lots of different things from all around the budget. And then I have a Bessie view for my dog Bessie. And that also brings in several categories that are all scattered all around the budget, which is really nice because I always have the thing, I'm like, well, it'd be nice to have I have like 4 or 5 categories for the dog, right? But they're spread all around. So and I was like, maybe I should have a category group for that, but I'm not doing the themed categories. I don't do it that way. So like it doesn't really work. So yeah, this way you can have both, right? And then I have a kids view, again, brings in a few different categories. And then I have a holding and savings view. So any holding categories, anything I consider like a savings goal, brings it all together. So yeah. Uh, and I haven't really used the custom views that much, but the built-in ones I have used actually.
So what are those again? Remind me.
Okay, well, first we have all, which is the default. It just shows all your views, right? Or all your categories. Then there's underfunded, which only shows anything that's marked in yellow, anything that needs funding, underfunded, obviously. And then there's overfunded, which means anything that has more, any category where you've assigned more than you have to according to your target, right? And then there's money available, which is just anything that has green in it, any positive amount, they'll bring it up. I don't really use money available right now, but I do use underfunded quite a bit when I'm actually assigning money. Because I've gone back to, I'm trying to, we talked about this in another episode. I'm trying to enter things manually instead of just hitting that underfunded button, just to kind of think through and just kind of feel the numbers a little more.
So you're making changes.
Yeah, I'm making some changes, you know. I'm not blowing up the whole budget like you have, but you know, I'm changing my practices a little bit. And I've literally only done this like once, but yeah, it makes a difference. It's more fun. It takes longer. It spreads out the joy of assigning money. So I have been doing that, and the underfunded one is helpful for that.
Do you start there with underfunded, that view?
Yeah, because what I'll do, because this is another change I'll talk about, but I'm assigning money directly into the future rather than using a holding category, and I'll just hit underfunded so it shows all the ones that haven't been funded yet, and assign as I go. And sometimes it's still pretty quick because early on in the month, like my first paycheck of the month, it's over in like 5 seconds because I have like 3 categories that take up all of it, you know, because there's like big ticket items I'll go for first. But then it starts to get a little more selective. And even though I know the next month will fully be funded before the month begins, I'm still going through the practice of like choosing which categories should be funded first. And it's kind of bringing up an interesting feeling. Like I'm like realizing what's most important, what's less important. So I'm going to keep doing it and see what that brings up.
Nice.
Yeah. So there's that. And then there's overfunded, which I'm really loving a lot. Okay.
So, tell us more, because the overfunded, I mean, I haven't used it a whole lot. And in my mind, the only time I could think of using it is if I run into a pinch. Like, you know, there's some massive overspending, or I'm anticipating some massive overspending. Where do I've got the most wiggle room? Go to overfunded.
Yeah. So we talked about in a recent episode this question of should you, when you're getting a month ahead, should you keep it in a holding category until the new month begins? Or should you just budget directly into the next month? Right. And I've gone back and forth many times, and you convinced me in that episode to be like, okay, let's try the holding category. So I had a holding category for next month, and then I had a holding category for next month plus 1, because I like to budget 2 months ahead now. And I just kind of hated it.
That's fair.
It was so absurd. And I think here's what it is, Ernie. I think it's because I don't have a process like you do where I sit down in my bubble bath at the end of the month, you know, to reconcile all the accounts. Like the next month's fully funded, and I go for a little bit until I have a budget meeting with my wife, which is not usually on the first. It's usually it's usually a few days later or closer to the beginning of the month, but not right at the beginning of the month. And so, I hated it because I didn't. Okay, here's an example. July 1st, so it's July 11th when we're recording this. July 1st, I was driving to my in-laws' house for the 4th of July, right? We had just gotten out of the car, or out of the parking lot, or out of the driveway. That's what I'm trying to say. And I realized my budget is not filled out at all. And I know there's a bunch of bills that come out on the 1st. And like, I know my budget's showing negatives, and I'm just like, I cannot handle it. So I literally pulled over on the side of the road. My wife was so annoyed with me. She was like, do you really have to do this now? And I was like, yes, I have to do this now.
I get it, man. I get it.
And I got my phone out, and I did use underfunded for that. I just released the next month category and funded July because I was just like, I can't, because we're having conversations like, oh yeah, we need to, do we have enough in travel for getting dining out, and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, I don't know, because I haven't funded. So anyways, because of that process, I guess I could create a process where I'm like, okay, the first of the month I'm going to do this, but I don't know. I just like having it fully funded, and it's just kind of, it just kind of rolls along without
Yes.
seamlessly, so.
And I love that it wasn't an issue of, do we have money to cover these bills? Like, that never crossed your mind.
Yeah.
There was more than enough in the accounts. It was just the budget.
And like, my wife asked me, do you really have to do this now? And the answer is no, I did not have to do it now, but I had to do it now. It only took a couple seconds because I used underfunded, and it was fine. But it was
okay. So
I recognized that I was being very annoying, but I didn't care.
That kind of pushed you over the limits. Ditch the holding categories.
So all this to say, so why is overfunded useful? Probably the biggest argument for using the holding category method instead of budgeting directly ahead is you end up having overfunded categories. If you have any needed for spending categories, and you don't fully spend it, then you're going to overfund the next month, because I'm actually funding those categories before the month begins, so that top up mechanic doesn't work until the new month, right? That kind of goes away. I mean, it's still there. It's still a problem, but it completely goes away because now there's an overfunded filter view, and it just shows me all the overfunded categories. So before, you would know that you had overfunding because in the auto assign, this is on the web app, on the auto side, it would show you overfunded. But you'd have to go through every single category and find where the overfunding occurred. Now you can just hit overfunded. It shows you all the ones that have money in it that you could move. And I can decide, okay, I'm going to move this to my budget meetings items category, and we'll deal with that money when we have a budget meeting. So it solved that problem for me. And now I feel like there's no reason why I shouldn't just budget straight to the next month. So that's one thing I love about it.
So the workflow is every time new money arrives, you're looking at that overfunded filter.
No.
Or is it just on the first of the month?
So the workflow is anytime new money arrives, I go forward to the next month, look at underfunded, and assign money. Okay. And then I keep doing that until the next month starts. And then at the beginning of the month, before we have a budget meeting, I'll click on overfunded filter.
Got it.
View. Sorry, not a filter, it's a view. And I get all the overfunded categories, which isn't a whole lot because I don't use needed for spending all that much, but when I do, it's there. And I just decide if I want to move any of that money out, and then we're ready for the budget meeting. So
okay. And that makes sense, right? Because on the first of the month, the recalculations. So
exactly.
Right.
So now so YNAB doesn't know if a category is overfunded until the new month begins. Once the new month begins, it shows up on the overfunded list. So yeah, it just kind of solves that problem. I love it. So that's my most exciting thing about the focus views. And I'm really intrigued, Ernie, about the single category. I might try it just for the sake of trying it.
Right, because it's really easy to recreate those groups if you need to, but
yeah, I mean, I could even do it in one session on the web app and just undo if I hate it. So
I just didn't see a reason to keep them.
Mm-hmm.
If I was going to be dedicated to the views, which I wanted to give it a fair shot.
When you want to see a category group, you're scrolling to find the group and then looking at it. Now you hit a button and you get the group immediately. So yeah, does filtered views, well, does focused views, I keep saying filtered. Okay, does focused views kind of remove the need for category groups? That's a good question. I guess you're answering that question.
For a new YNABer too, it might make it easier. Does this category belong in this group or that? Like, those aren't the decisions that you need to be wasting time on. You need to be focusing on, what does my money need to do between now and the next paycheck?
Now, so here's a downside, Ernie. Your spending report is ruined now, right?
It is.
Your pie chart is just one color, right?
It is.
Okay, so that's one downside.
Yes, but I can drill into that.
Sure.
To get to the categories, and then I can slice and dice. I definitely
I
thought
mostly
about
look at
that.
the trend report anyway when I'm doing that. But yeah. Although a lot of folks have been like, are these focus views going to be? Can you get reporting based on the focus views? And I think that'd be the next step. So maybe one day we'll have that, and then then there might truly be no need for separate groups. So.
But I don't use reports a whole lot. So when I was thinking through this decision, I'm like, it doesn't matter what my reports look like.
If I do use reports, I'm not looking at the pie chart. I'm looking at the trends, and I'm looking at trends based on a couple categories or at the most, or usually just one category. So I'm not so interested in that. So there's a lot there.
Well, should we talk about some of the other ways we've seen or thought of?
Yes.
For the focus views?
Okay, we talked enough about our own budgets. Let's talk about y'all's budgets. Some things you might try doing. Okay, the first one that I've heard people using, and a lot of people on the team have done this, is a Rule 3 focus view. So any categories that you typically take money from when you have overspending, or money you can grab if you want to, go and get some fast food and you don't have any money in your dining out category, right? That kind of thing. Just have all those categories in one view, so you can just kind of choose from there.
For partners that are sharing a budget, you've got the yours, mine, and ours view. So you can bring up a list of your favorite categories. Your partner has their view of their favorite categories, and then all the shared priorities, together, those favorite categories, you can have an ours view. I think that's a popular use too.
Really exciting. The implication for partners is huge, because we have all these ways of structuring a budget. So like if you and your partner have completely separate accounts, do this. If you have a combination, and it gets complicated when you have a combination of joint and separate accounts, and you want to have a single budget. The advice we've given is have a separate group, a joint group, a person 1 group, and a person 2 group, right? But now you can structure the groups however you want, and have the views to indicate what's a joint priority, what's a priority for one partner, what's a priority for the other partner, and that makes a big difference because now you can just make the budget look however you want and use the views for that purpose. So. Yeah, I love that.
And for someone whose partner isn't that interested or maybe overwhelmed with budgeting, let's simplify it for them, right? Here's your view. This is the only thing that you need to focus on, just a few categories in there instead of, looking at 50 categories and trying to figure out how I categorize this transaction.
I've heard from a lot of people who say they don't want their partners to be able to see the whole budget because they're going to mess something up, which is very true. I mean, there's one person who's a budget nerd and the other person is like, I don't care. And if they're on board, hopefully they're at least on board. If they are, they're just like, just give me the 3 categories I need to look at. So yeah, focus views is perfect for that. And now by the time this comes out, it should be on mobile as well. So that will make a big difference for folks. Another one, needs versus wants. That can be really cool. I always struggle, if folks talk about needs versus wants, I always struggle with this. I'm like, everything's a need, everything's a want, how do you define that? It's all about degrees. Like you need clothes, but anyways, but I think it is helpful, especially early on, to be like, okay, I'm going to define this as more of a thing that I want and define this as more of a thing that I need. Even though it's on a spectrum, you can kind of assign one to one category. And so, that's a good way to be like, these things are negotiable. These things are not negotiable.
For someone who's paying down debt, maybe there's a view for these are the necessities and we're going to be funding those every single month. And then there's a view of every so often where maybe we dial back the debt pay down and we focus on some fun stuff like vacation or just fun spending, bring up those categories.
Yeah, I could see if I was going really hard after a debt or a goal, having a category for my wants or a view for my wants, and then look at what the total available is, for all those categories, and be like, all that could go on the debt if I decide to dial back this month, right? And kind of play a game with yourself and see how much you can not spend and I wouldn't do that. Yeah, that's a trap psychologically because you can just get yourself into nickel timing every single decision. But I think it could be a way to kind of, if you really want to sprint for a little while, be like, okay, this is what I've assigned for these categories, but let's see how little I can spend to maybe move that over to the debt at the end of the month. So that
You
can
know,
be fun.
you just mentioned a cool feature about those focus views is that the auto assign numbers are calculating based on just those
Mm-hmm.
categories. So you can bring up a view and you can see how much is available. I think that's really nice.
Well,
You
in
can see
that
how much
way,
is
there's
underfunded,
reporting. There's reporting
how much
happening.
the average spent
Mm-hmm.
from those categories.
Yeah, I mean, you can immediately see what your average spent is on different, like on car number 1 or car number 2 or the house or the dog, and you can get an idea of what this thing is costing you overall. So that's kind of a cool idea.
Something I hear a lot in workshops is budgeting around a pay cycle. So everyone, paycheck 1 covers these expenses, paycheck 2, these expenses. Well, instead of structuring the budget around that, you can have your bills, true expenses, just the traditional groups. Now you can have a view for what each paycheck in the month needs to do. I can see that being super helpful.
Yeah, there's so many examples of we've taught people to structure their budget a certain way to make it easier to do something like this. Paycheck 1, put all the bills that are going to be paid by paycheck 1 under that group. Paycheck 2, have all the bills that are going to be paid by that paycheck under that group. That all of that kind of goes away because you can do both. You have 2 ways to, or really infinite number of ways to view your budget. So yeah, I love that. And this is actually making me think, if I want to do this exercise of funding the most important things first, I could have views for like top priority number 2 and priority number 3 or something like that. And I could go to the top priority categories first and fund those. Well, anyways, I think what I'm doing is I'm just automating it again. I think at this point I might as well just hit underfunded. So maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I should think through it every time. But if I see a pattern, maybe I could create views for those, and it would help me in the process of assigning. So yeah, that'd be kind of fun. All right, what else? We got a bunch of different options for savings goals. One is a view. This is huge. A view for the wish farm. So I had a wish farm category for a little while, but now I actually have more than 3. Like if you're being a strict wish farmer, you have 3 things that you're saving for: a small thing, a medium thing, and a large thing. But I have more than that, so I have like a whole savings goal group. But this is interesting because you could have wish farm savings goals interspersed throughout your budget, and you could have a view for that instead of a separate category group. So that's kind of cool.
I got rid of the wish farm because I was overwhelmed with all of these things that I eventually want to buy. It was like this big long list. Yeah, the wish list. I'm just like,
I still have a wish list in my budget, but it's gotten so old now. Actually, do I even have it? I know I did get rid of it at some point. Yeah, I think I closed my eyes and deleted the group because, you put something on the wish list. Yeah, I did. I think I did do that because you put something on the wish list and it's like you never get to it, and then it's like 6 months later or a year later, and you're like, I don't want that thing anymore. You got to do some maintenance every once in a while. Yeah. And I think I prefer to keep that list elsewhere. I keep it in Todoist. So because I just don't want to have extra categories in my budget. Like all the times when we've talked about how many categories we have, I never include the wish list because it's not really. It doesn't really count, Otherwise, I'd have like over 100 categories in my budget, So I
still want to keep things minimal when it comes to categories, but I would be inclined to give the wish farm, the wish list, another chance with focused views.
Mm-hmm. Right, especially you because you're really relying on focused views a lot.
Yeah.
So you can have it filtered out all the time unless you really want to see just that. So. Yeah, there's something to that. Well, I mean, you only have 40 something categories now, so you got to add some more.
No, it's so clean. I love it. Love it.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't. Any big savings goals at all? Just have a view for that. I think that can be good. Oh, this one's huge. Okay, this is what I wrote down in our notes. So let's see if you can interpret this, Ernie. Matchy savings accounts, people.
Yes, I want this account balance to match this category balance.
Exactly. And
Who
so
came up with Matchy Match, the Matchy Match game? Is that
don't-
you?
I don't know. I'm just gonna say Aaron because Aaron comes up with everything. Probably,
Okay.
but I don't know. Yeah, the matchy match game. So this is the thing. Before, when people come into YNAB, and this was me when I came into YNAB, they were already budgeting, but they were doing what we call budgeting with accounts, where you had like 5, 6, sometimes like 15 savings accounts. And those are your categories. That's where so you're setting money aside for Christmas in this account, and vacation in another account, and home insurance in another account, right? And that's the only way you have to separate it because you didn't have YNAB. And what a lot of people do is they'll bring all those accounts into YNAB, and then they have to match those accounts to the category, the corresponding category. And it gets to be kind of a nightmare because you're doing double accounting. You have to do the transfers at the bank, and then you need to move the money in YNAB. And inevitably it gets off, and people are like, everything's broken. And yeah, it's a mess. So we teach people just do one savings account and have lots of, have all your savings categories separate, or just keep all the money in checking. I mean, for a long time, I only had one checking account, and that's where all my money was, and it was awesome. I got a little uncomfortable with having that much money in one account, though, so I did create a savings account, but it was awesome. So, anyways, we don't encourage the matchy thing, but if you do want to do matchy, you can use these views to help. So, if you have like 2 or 3 categories that you want to be associated with a certain savings account, you can put those categories under a certain view, look at the total, make sure it matches, right? And that way you can do your matchy game a little bit easier. So there you go.
I would say, yeah, for those playing the matchy game, get rid of that savings group.
Yeah.
There's just no need for that with focused views now.
Exactly.
So let those categories live in,
Let them
whether
be
it's
free.
Bills or true expenses. Yeah, be free, my minions. Or completely lost my train of thought there. Yeah, get rid of that savings group and use the focus view for savings.
Exactly. Any other thoughts, Ernie?
No, we covered it all for savings. I think the last idea is just theme-based. Mm-hmm. And we briefly mentioned this at the beginning, but I want to bring up those expenses for auto because, you have auto bills, you have auto true expenses. Maybe there's even auto goals you're saving for a new vehicle. So let's bring it all into a view. Home would be another one. Kids, because those expenses get spread out throughout the budget.
Pets.
Yes.
Any individual in your family, it would be a big one. Yeah, and that's what I'm doing with my custom views right now is I have a few themes. But yeah, I don't know. After today, I have a lot of ideas. So, and I'm sure we'll get more ideas in the comments. So, yeah. All right, I think that's all we want to say about focus views for now. Ernie, should we do some YNAB wins?
Let's do it.
Who's all in your mind?
All right, I have an email from Larry, who just wrote, "Guys!" exclamation point, which I think was a great beginning. Guys, he's very excited. Last October, a bunch of yearly bills had us really dig into our Christmas fund. So I prepared to have €1,000 set aside for this year's bill. The cost of living crisis in Europe had us so worried that 1,000 wouldn't be enough. Turns out we even got a refund, and now the money for next fall is already set aside. So we don't have to worry about it at all. Hope you're doing well and glad to hear about the fridge. Larry said this in a while ago. Thanks a bunch, Larry. Oh man, I love that. I love that when you're prepared, you're ready, and then the universe throws you a bone, and you didn't even need to prepare as much as you needed to. So then you have some money to reassign, which is always fun.
My win comes from a comment on the Simplify Your Budget episode. US Patriot said, I immediately started inputting every non-monthly subscription into its own category group, making it exactly the amount and the date it needs to be paid. It makes me feel so good that I know I'm saving for those, and I can look at that big list in YNAB to understand where my money is going. I think monthly and non-monthly subscriptions can really add up and surprise you. Highly suggest it. It's definitely a YNAB win for me in my first year of using YNAB.
Nice.
Love it. And this would be a great opportunity to use focused views, US Patriot.
Yeah,
Maybe,
it's true.
you got those non-monthly and monthly subscriptions. Just turn them into a view, and there you go.
I'll bet you they already have.
Probably already have.
All right. Well, if you want to let us know how you're using focus views, or if you want to send us a YNAB win, send us an email at budgetnerds@ynab.com. Or if you're watching on YouTube, just leave us a comment. We'd love to see them. We do read all of them, and we try to respond to as many as we can. So do jump in.
All right, friends, we'll see you in a couple weeks, and really excited for the next episode. It's going to be a special one. I think you're going to love it.
This is going to be a special one. Can't wait. See you guys.
Until next time, happy budgeting.
Happy budgeting.